GA. And that is converted into estrogen in a female's body, so it makes those levels too high. And breast cancer generally is a hormone-sensitive cancer. Colon cancer, alcohol affects the way we absorb folate, which is a vitamin, and that's a known risk factor for colon cancer.
While light to moderate drinking may not be as harmful, heavy and binge drinking is linked to an increased risk of developing cancer.
Colon cancer, where we want to focus is really on these binge drinkers, so that's defined as form risk factor.
Hi there, that was a short video of what was going on. Let me just turn this off. Can everyone hear me at the moment?
Yes, Ed, I can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah,
I've got something
can hear
running in the
you
background.
loud
One
and
second.
clearly. We got you.
Okay, here we go. Can everyone hear me at the moment? Okay.
I can hear you.
I'm trying to do a few other things. What I'm trying to do is also live stream this at the same time. Okay, turning those captions off for a minute. That's that one happening. So that's the live stream going on. Brilliant. So we are also live streaming today to Facebook and YouTube. I mean, our listeners on there obviously cannot interact with us. They can add in comments, but those will only be viewable in the Facebook. And so we are also live streaming today to Facebook and YouTube. Here we go. One second. I mean, our listeners on there obviously cannot interact with us. They can add in comments, but those will only be viewable in the Facebook. What I'm going to do is turn my mic off now. And over to you, Suki and Balraj.
Yep, Suki, if you want to kick it off, that'd be wicked.
Thank you to Tej and Balraj, and a big warm welcome to everybody on the platform of Punjab 2000. Wherever you're listening to us, whether it's on Twitter or whether it's on Facebook, it's being live streamed on Facebook and various other social media platforms. Very warm welcome, and it's a subject that obviously, affects a lot of us. Maybe not directly, but possibly indirectly, whether you're involved in the media world or however you're involved. Alcohol is a big thing, and especially for me being Punjabi, so I can only sort of speak as a Punjabi person. As alcohol is supposed to be sort of forbidden in not in the Punjabi culture, but more in the Sikh culture, and yet when DJing at Punjabi Sikh weddings or being invited to these weddings, and it's just more than other cultures. It's the Punjabi, the Sikh weddings where alcohol does flow free, and I think that's a big thing, free, because sometimes you go to um, some colleagues, English colleagues, or various other where you may get the first drink free, but the other drinks you have to pay for. And sometimes I think is that the reason, the fact that we are just given bottles of whichever whiskey, vodka, Bacardi, rum, whatever, just placed on the table. And it's happened to all of us, before my dad becoming Amritari, I remember going to weddings with my dad, sitting on the table along with his with our Pindus and friends and relatives. And that bottle would be gone around the table in one go. That bottle of whiskey would go. So culturally, it's almost sort of it's a seen thing that Punjabis have to drink, or Punjabis are associated with drinking. And even when you talk to colleagues at work, especially English colleagues or Western colleagues, who say, "Oh God, it's Punjabi wedding. I'm coming. Oh my God, you get free booze, right?" That's the first thing that you hear. You get free booze. Yeah, I love it, lavish and everything. So alcohol is we are surrounded by alcohol, like I said, especially within the sort of the Asian media sort of field. So we will be discussing actually how it affects families, how it affects individuals, how it affects the community, and at what point are you actually not labeled maybe, but at what point are you alcoholic? As as bad as that word may sound, you know, some of us probably are, or maybe not in this chat, but maybe in the community, but we don't realize it. And I remember my university days, my college days, it was, how many pints can you drink? How many bottles of pills can you drink? And I actually remember seeing people sitting there drinking 17 pints of lager, or, crates of pills and everything. And for some reason, we seem to take pride in the fact that we can drink so much, rather than thinking, oh my god, I drink so much. Have I got a problem? Is there something wrong with me? But looking at the other point, we actually think, wow, I can drink. Oh my god. Or the other person says, wow, he can drink. And this day and age, she can drink. So we'll be having that sort of conversation. So wherever you are listening to us, across the platforms of Punjab 2000, do join in, do share your stories. And I think by sharing your stories, by sharing, other people will learn from our experiences, and other people will be touched by your experiences. So all you have to do is just request to be a speaker, and the hosting team will be more than happy to add you into and allow you to speak. So do please share. And we are talking sort of alcohol-free Sikhs. That's the subject of today's chat. But it is about mental health. It is about health, other health issues that are led by consuming so much alcohol. And at what point do you know that you or somebody is alcoholic? And is it is it offensive to call someone alcoholic? Is it offensive to tell someone that you have a problem, my friend, whoever you are? So I'll pass you over to Vajra. That's my sort of spiel. But hopefully we'll all walk away with learning something from today. And drinking responsibly, that's the issue. So I'll pass you over to Valraj, but that's my little spiel on it. So do share this platform with other people while you're joining in. So welcome to everybody. Balraj, I'll pass you over to you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Suki. Yeah, I'm just going to literally echo what Suki has said. I think that's a fair opening to the conversation today, the debate we're having. I'm hoping this is going to be a real positive platform where thoughts can be exchanged, views can be appreciated and respected. And you're absolutely right. What you've echoed there, Suki. There's always been this issue of how much can people within the Asian, Desi, Sikh community drink. It's almost like a sense of peer pressure to be the best, to compete, especially those around when it comes to weddings and functions and celebrations. It's just a given. And you're absolutely right. And on a personal note, it's very, very embarrassing for me when people come across, say, "Are you Sikh? Yeah, you Sikhs drink loads, don't you? Your Sikh weddings are mad, and you all get very, very drunk." And I think to myself, that is not the identity of Sikhism. If that's what you relate it to, it may be something that you relate culturally, but it is not Sikhi to its core. So what I think we should do at this point in time is, if we can bring in alcohol-free Sikhs, or actually a non-profit organization who know a lot about this and support people who may potentially, from Sikh community, or I assume any background, race or place, be struggling. So if we can bring those guys in, that'd be great. Let me just try and do that. Unless you can do it for me, Tej, that'd be brilliant. Sent an invite over. Just waiting for alcohol-free Sikh listeners to join in the conversation. Can you hear us there? Can you hear us okay? So just trying to get some connection there with Alcohol Free Sikhs, the organisation themselves, who are, a core part of today's discussion. So can you hear us there, Buddy?
Amandeep, turn your mic on, please.
Connection there with Alcohol Free Sikhs, the organisation themselves.
I've just sent an invitation to them, so hopefully they'll accept that invitation and join in. And obviously, as we've got people speaking on this platform, by all means, if you, like I said at the beginning as well, if you've been affected by this very issue, do share your stories. And I think that's something we maybe don't do, is to share our experiences. And it's such a learning platform for people out there, including myself. I mean, yesterday we spoke about mental health, and I learned a lot of things that I didn't know. So it's a learning experience for all of us. And when we share something, we share a story, we can relate to that story, and I think other people can sort of learn from that. So do even if you're a listener, this is your platform. So we're having a chat. So just request to speak, and we'll let you in and do share your stories with us. So I think we're ready to hear from Alcoholic Free Sikhs, if there are any out there.
Hi, good evening. This is Mandeep from Manjology. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. I work with Alcohol Free Sikhs. I guess reception at Satsang, who's the founder of Alcohol Free Sikhs, isn't great. So apologies on that side. So I could quickly jump in and have a quick brief on what Alcohol Free Sikhs is about. Their vision is saving and enhancing lives based on people, basically in our community, Asian community, Sikh families who are struggling, individuals or families who have alcohol or substance dependency. How can they come out of it? Providing them resources, providing them therapy, providing them, signposting them to various different organizations who could actually come in and help them. Very early on, I think Suki and yourself touched base on association with alcohol. You name it, be it weddings, be it any ceremonial functions, be it any other day. I mean, just a night out doesn't seem to be fun if you don't drink. That association, that thinking, that very thought process that I can't enjoy a night out if I don't have a drink or don't have a few drinks. And that peer pressure, that colleagues, the friend circle, relations, the relatives. What is it all about drinking? We seems that we are so dependent on this drug. It's a sedative drug. It's a chemical, and we can't seem to think over it. It used to be cigarettes before. Now, kind of alcohol stand hand and shoulder to smoking, and people are often talk about from the morning. Pubs are full. Hitting Christmas, pubs are full. People are talking about alcohol. Uh, Social media, our prime minister, you name it, on every level. It's not just in our community, on every level. What we see, what we hear, we talk about it, all advertisements, they advertise. You watch a film, you see alcohol is related to some sort of relaxation, some sort of having a fun time, some sort of connecting with people. But who actually connect with people after being drunk? That mindfulness. If any of you have picked up a glass recently, have you actually drank it mindfully that I'm drinking an alcohol, I'm drinking some booze from, do you know its origin? Do you know what does it consist of and how it's playing on your mind, in your body, and the ripple effect that it has in your families? This topic is so close to my heart, and I'm very passionate about it. Uh, I lost my dad to alcohol when I was 14, and I saw my family crumbling down. I saw my mum struggling. I saw my siblings struggling. I saw my grandparents struggling. He was just 40 at the time. had that help been there at the time, he would have probably be still around. And that stigma, that taboo, that especially in our community, people have that it's okay to drink firstly, and it's okay to not to admit that I have issues. So this is where I come from. And if any other listener would like to jump in and have their say or thoughts.
Yeah, some strong points there, certainly, Mandeep Badi. And once again, thank you for joining us. With regards to, these what we can, I guess, call taboo subjects and issues, which certainly cause, questions and concerns in society. I'm going to ask, I'm going to see if we can once again get Badi from Alcohol Free Sikhs back into the conversation, because I know, Tej, we had some some connection issues. So if we can just try and get Badi in, can you see if we can unmute him, Tej? I think we may be having some technical issues still there. Do just bear with us, people.
Hi, I think Sat is not able to unmute himself. Sat, try and unmute yourself, please.
While we're waiting for
Yeah.
could Dr. Basra come on board and
Yeah, so I have
share his
invited.
thoughts?
Yeah, I have invited Dr. Basra as well. So, Dr. Basra, I've invited you to speak. So, if you're able to accept that invitation, I'd love to get your thoughts on, this conversation today. So, do let us know when you've joined, or I'll be able to see, obviously, from my side.
Or maybe, Faraj, in the meantime, what are your thoughts? What's going on in our society, in our culture? Likely you said people try and ask you this question. You guys are heavy drinker, aren't you? You're a Sikh. So this association, being a Sikh or being an Indian, that you can drink heavily.
My thoughts, Mandeep Badi, from being completely honest and transparent, are very, very concerning. Lockdown seems to, based on what we've seen in news reports and media, led to people relying on it a lot more. Domestic situations are becoming quite aggressive, becoming quite toxic. But I tell you something that I hear very, very regularly between my peers, my colleagues. Myself, I'm a complete teetotaler. I always have been. I've not drank. It's not my forte. It's not something that's ever appealed to me for personal reasons. But it's not something that I see any benefit of. But I've also challenged people. When I say challenge in a very friendly way, like, why do you drink so much? And they go, it's not that I want to get drunk. It's because I enjoy drinking. I appreciate drinking. It gives me my time out. And for me, it's like, okay, that's a fair point. So it's that fine line, between people that are using it as a crutch to get through everyday life, but then there's also people that claim, you know what, I'm just enjoying it. I appreciate. I like a common statement I hear is, I like the taste of it. It makes me feel good. So, again, following on from yesterday's conversation of mental health, as an everyday person who's not necessarily qualified in knowing the science, who are we and how are we to judge that this person may actually have a drinking problem? These are thoughts that always cross my mind in those situations.
Very rightly so, I guess. I think when they say they are enjoying the drink, they are enjoying the company or they're enjoying the drink. They can't differentiate that, if that makes sense. When I see people in my clinical settings, I ask them question, what does it taste like? Do they actually feel the taste of it? Or do they, how many glasses they can go through? How many bottles they can go through? Hello.
No, sorry, Craig. I think we had Sat Badi there for a moment. So if we're okay, is it all right for Sat Badi to come in, Mandeep, to carry on with that? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Sorry, did Mandeep, did you want to continue for now, or did you want me to start?
Sat, go ahead, please.
Okay.
Yeah, my brother Sat, voice is recognised all over the place.
No, thanks thanks for for the invite for Alcohol Free Sikhs today. It's really important subject that we're actually dealing with. There's a lot of rising suicides out there, And obviously we have been working in the community over the last couple of years and specializing, on this side, as well as mental health as well. I mean, the first things, I want to really touch on is that, this pressure for drinking in our communities, is coming from all over, so there's that desi pressure, as you know, from the music industry as well. There's a lot of glorification of alcohol, and when people watch that, they think that they're going to have an amazing life. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's not really the case. Then you've got also pressure at university as well. There's a lot of people come to us and they tell us when they go to university, it's just absolutely unheard of that somebody is not drinking. Yeah. So there's a lot of pressure there. There's also pressure from the last generation, wedding culture. So all these things, need to be tackled, step by step. Yeah. And we are looking to we are connecting up to, various different organizations, just to get, the clear message over that, alcohol, as you mentioned, is not permitted in our way of life. So what we are now doing is creating an educational program that we are going to be rolling out in all the major gurdwaras in the UK. We've also already had interest from other countries, India, Dubai, Canada, America. So, this shift or this sort of change is something that, many people are looking for an organization to step up and to actually say, to set, give that message of, what our gurus, our gurus' message basically, and we are doing our gurus' work. Yeah. And alcohol, there should be no correlation between alcohol and Sikhism. Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to also mention as well, the word alcoholic, we don't use that terminology. This is a very negative terminology to put on somebody, and this is something that can affect you for the rest of your life. If you call somebody an alcoholic, and I know there's some peer groups that work in that sort of environment where you have to actually go in there, put your hands up and say, I'm an alcoholic. But the thing is that on the individual. Yeah. So we never use that terminology because somebody could have one or two drinks and, the way it affects their body, that could, they could be an alcoholic from that. Yeah. But the way we measure alcohol, anybody that has alcohol issues is on their dependency levels. So they could be low, moderate, or high. And this is something that we assess, when we speak to any individuals that are coming forward. Yeah. And the other thing that where we're different is that, we only work with individuals on a one-to-one basis. Yeah. It's purely confidential. You do not have to go into a room and declare to everybody that you have an issue, and you're also working with professionals in the industry. Yeah. So when you're working with Alcohol Free Six, you are actually working with senior healthcare professionals. Yeah. We are also working with medical bodies, other medical partners, in formulating some of the most effective alcohol reduction services, and this is something that we will be announcing in from next year onwards. Yeah, so early next year. Okay. So
that, buddy. I'm just going to ask you a quick question. Yeah. Obviously, you referenced some of the things that you do and the measures you're looking at putting in place. For those that don't actually know, who are Alcohol Free Seats? What do you actually do? So just people got a bit of an understanding.
Yeah, of course. So I'll give you an understanding. So Alcohol Free Seats, there's a lot of companies out there that have awareness sort of companies that do alcohol awareness. Yeah, but we do all of it. We do alcohol awareness, we do alcohol education, We cover mental health as well because it's very closely interlinked. We work with suicide prevention, and we also have alcohol reduction, not reduction, but alcohol psychotherapy, and we will have reduction services. So we will actually have effective services that will help individuals to quit, to stop drinking, depending on, which it will depend on a number of factors. I mean, it could depend on the dependency levels, also what their desires are as well. And generally, we want to only mainly work with people that really want to quit alcohol. So there's no halfway in between. We don't, our measurement is that there is no safe limit. And this is the same message that is coming from the World Health Organization as well. Yeah? And many other leading medical studies out there. They're basically saying that even one drink will cause damage to your brain and also to your organs, yeah, and to your body.
Is there, I mean, I've noticed that the title of the organization, non-profit charity organization, Alcohol-Free Sikhs. So is it just purely Sikhs that you'll, focus on, or is it everyone that will approach you for your service, with regards to what you do in terms of support? And is there any clinical intervention? Are there qualified, doctors, nurses, practitioners that, support what you do, part of this process?
Yeah, I mean, there are. I mean, obviously, we have registered psychotherapists. We have registered pharmacists, and we also have some doctors as well if we need to call upon them. And the other thing is that we see the service that we also, via our social media, we are already getting a lot of people coming forward. Mandeep will obviously elaborate on just the basis of what we're actually doing in terms of recovery and how we're helping people support, how we're supporting them ongoing. Just to let you know, the actual recovery element, I mean, recovery can be very, very expensive. It can cost tens of thousands of pounds. You go to Bupa or you go to the Priory, and the Priory can charge you £10,000 a week.
Wow.
Now, see, they're only interested in, they'll do whatever they have to do while you're there. But as soon as you leave, you get referred back into the NHS. And the NHS, as you know, they're at the moment, they've got a lot of other things they're dealing with, especially with COVID. But even prior to COVID, there was never really any services out there that really deal with people that really want to, even make that lifestyle change. Yeah. So this is why, we kind of like Alcohol-Free Sikhs is also a message, to Sikhs everywhere as well, that we should all be alcohol-free Sikhs. Yeah. And as going back to the question that you asked, yeah, we help everyone basically. It doesn't matter which what they believe in or where they're from. And that's one core factor. That's one really, really important. We really before in unity of not just Sikhs, but unity of all humans. Yeah, humanity.
Before I hand it over to Suki, if that's all right, Suki, just one more question.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah.
I was just
going to say, Mandeep was answering the question earlier on, and we had some technical difficulties, but I guess you could kind of finish off the answer to that question. So we talk about the connection of Sikhs and Punjabis and that cultural, kind of tradition of Sare Pinde Khao Piyo Aish Karo Mitro, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But what about those that, and this is when I've been in these situations, because I don't drink, so I always ask out of curiosity, what do you get out of being drunk? And they go, oh no, we're not getting drunk as such. We just like the taste of alcohol. We just appreciate having a drink. And when you look and you think, I think you've actually got a problem. How do you identify that? How do you support those individuals?
So the only individual we don't really go out to, we don't look for individuals, or we don't go out looking to find somebody. They tend to find us very quickly anyway, via social media. So sometimes what they'll do is they'll join. So for instance, take our Instagram site. you know, we have people that joining all the time, and I think it's probably, I think there's a higher element of drinkers actually, because they want to know what we're about, you know, what services we provide, and they watch the posts for a while, and then what we notice is either they come forward or their partner comes forward, and then they ask, you know, that question in terms of what can you really do to help support us. We've gone to our GP, you know, we've gone via the NHS, we've tried other voluntary services, and you know, nothing's worked. So we have, you know, we do get a lot of callers that have tried all the other alternatives, and then obviously then, you know, we work with them to try and offer a different service, really. You know, you see, this the reason why we don't believe in the peer-to-peer network.
Yeah, that's what I was emphasizing on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Mandeep will explain a little bit more about the difference. Yeah, but you know, the peer-to-peer network is generally non-medical, so there will be no professionals there. It's normally recovering alcoholics, and what they will do is they'll sit together, and obviously they will encourage each. You know, they're there to encourage the next person to help them recover as well. And that network, I'm not, you know, it works for some people, but I think in our community, you know, people want to keep this confidential. It's not something that they want to tell everybody about, and also they don't want to talk about what other issues there are, you know, with their families and everything, you know, whether it be their partner. So, you know, this is where we're different. You know, we only believe in one-to-one therapy. We only believe in, you know, that pure confidentiality. And the other thing is, when two people sit, let's say in a peer group, they'll have something up to about 12 people. Now, all of those people will be drinking for different reasons. Yeah. So what we do with our therapy, this is the whole point. We try and identify why you're drinking in the first place. Yeah. And it could be some of the traumas that you may have experienced maybe years ago when you was a child. You know, you may have experienced bullying or some sort of abuse, and then later on, you know, it kind of like catches up with you. And as soon as you start drinking, and a lot of people, remember, turn to drink when they can't solve a certain issue or blockage, and alcohol is the easiest tool to use. You know, it's readily available. You know, it's very easy to get hold of, even if you're underage. Yeah. And most Sikh households, you know, tend to have a virtual off license there. You know, some people have bars, and they'll have every drink you can think of. Yeah. So, you know, for younger people growing up, you know, they think that this is the norm. Yeah. And this is why on our educational side, you know, this is why we want to connect up, you know, through Gurdwaras, community centres, football clubs, universities, and we want to give that education, you know, where we have, you know, medical practitioners there, and they will, you know, highlight, you know, how bad alcohol and how it affects your whole body and your mind. Yeah. So that's the educational side. That's all completely free, by the way. Yeah. So that we do because we want the next generation to really understand how alcohol really impact your life. You know, it's not just it's not also just your health, but it can, you know, it can affect everybody around you, the whole family. It can impact on your relationship with your partner, with your kids, with your friends, family, and also your financial situation as well. Yeah. So, so this is the education that we provide. On the recovery side, you know, we are looking to put in low-cost private services, which obviously, like I mentioned earlier, which will be one-to-one, and there will be, you know, totally confidential. And when we're looking to cover somebody that you know, requires recovery, we want to recover them in a way that they don't relapse. Yeah. So we want to look at all of, you know, we want to try and find out all the problems or any issues that they are having, where they, you know, they just cannot continue life without alcohol. And then once we identify that, then obviously, you know, our psychologists will them work to find, how they can relieve these issues. Yeah. So when they do recover, they're not thinking about alcohol. So in some alcohol recovery services, what they do is when they do come into recovery, they're not fully recovered. They'll wake up every day and they'll say, I'm a recovering alcoholic. We don't, when somebody says that, they're not fully recovered. Yeah. For recovery for us is where you can wake up and you found your true yourself, and you don't need alcohol and you don't need to think about it either.
All right, thank you for that great input there. I was just going to go back to basics really, and just for the experts to I think Mandeep sort of touched on it a little bit to say, do you know what alcohol is, or where it comes from, or what it consists of? That's my question really. Drinking responsibly responsibly is okay. We are here just discussing this situation, so we're not judging anybody or anything like that. So if you want to share your stories with us, do share them with us, and people will learn from you. So going back to basics, my question really was to you guys, who know and who deal with these issues every day, is when you have one drink, what is it within that drink or within that chemical concoction that makes you want to have another, and then another, and then another? And also, at what point, I know you don't want me to use the word alcoholic, but at what point do you realize, or do you know, or should somebody know that actually this person has a problem? Maybe one of your family members, or parents looking at the son or the daughter or whatever, because this world, we can't just say it's men who've got these problems. They are girls drinking out there as well. So I'm just thinking, like, what is it that makes you have one, and then maybe two, and then eventually you become dependent on it? What is it in that liquid that makes you want to have more and more?
So, sorry, who's this question addressed to?
Anybody, honestly, anybody out there. So I'm just like, just picking brain. I think Mandeep sort of mentioned it earlier on to say that, what is it? So maybe Mandeep, what is it actually? What is alcohol made, and why do you have one and then you want another?
Before we jump to that, I think Ricky's raised his hand. I think he's got something to talk about. Ricky?
Oh, thank you. Hi. Yeah, thanks for this Twitter space, Punjab Tea Fans and Suki, to addressing this. Just a couple of questions, really, in terms of from the alcohol free program that you were talking about. You mentioned in terms of kind of like low cost for treatment. Can you just tell me what kind of the price range is that you kind of deal for kind of recovery for clients coming in? And in terms of what's the success rate in terms of completion and dropout rate? Because my concern in this bit, because I've worked with Public Health England, I've commissioned drug and alcohol services, is that by the time people come into the services like yourselves or other bits, that they've kind of treatment system haven't worked for them, or they've been exploited by kind of charlatans in taking money off families, etc. And just kind of stop that. It's where the exploitation part's in it. So by having kind of your information there, if we were to signpost people to your service, what's the costing like, and what's the dropout rate and success rate?
So what is, I think Mandeep can let you know about the dropout rate. In terms of the costings, in comparison to what I mentioned earlier with the Priory. Look, I come from that NHS and healthcare background, so I'm a national sales manager for a pharmaceutical business. So obviously I'm aware of mental health, all the millions of prescriptions, and how even doctors treat mental health. And what is the in terms of the cost, I also run other workshops as well within Sikh temples free of charge as well. I'm an ambassador for a dementia charity in Kent, which I have been for the last 3 years. I used to be on their board. And also, we run other sort of healthcare events, such as is a very specialized eye health service in Gurdwaras as well, and many other things. We touch on nutrition, diabetes. So I know exactly how the NHS works as well, and we will always direct, people. We'll always direct individuals into the NHS. So, for instance, if somebody comes and they've got an issue with alcohol, we always ask them to. We always refer them back to their GP because they need to get a physical examination done, because we don't know what the damage there is, until they actually get blood tests and any other tests that need done. It could be that the doctor needs to deal with it. Yeah. And also there are free services. So what we are going to do, we're going to put a plug-in into our website where you can go anywhere for your free services. And what it will do is that plug-in, you can put in your postcode, and that will direct you to any of the NHS services, voluntary services in your area. So this is, we will give that option to everybody as well. And thirdly, in terms of the cost, I mean, just to let you know, Alcohol Free 6 make no money in this. Yeah. So what we have done is, we've got obviously we work quite closely with Mindiology. Mindiology is a mental health organization run by Mandeep, and obviously he discounts his fees by 50%. Yeah, and that really is just to cover his, so it covers his time. Yeah, and that cost is, so at the moment, if you come through Alcohol Free 6, it costs about £50. Yeah, for your therapy. Yeah, for a therapy session. And also, we will sort of, it's really hard to estimate how many sessions that they require, but Mandeep will obviously elaborate on, some of the success and what the dropout rate is. We are looking at another medical company we're working with, and that hopefully, if it works out, I mean, it looks like a good system. For some reason, they don't use it in the NHS, and that system is going to be available in every pharmacy in the UK. Yeah, so it's going to be a structured alcohol reduction service. See, the thing is that GPs don't have time to run these programs. Yeah, so this particular program actually involves a medication that helps you with your cravings. So some people, when they're on their alcohol reduction services, what happens is they tend to still get those cravings, and then they can, once they get those cravings, they can have a, really, really bad session. Yeah. And it just puts the whole recovery out of sync. So this alcohol reduction service that we're looking to work with pharmacists throughout the UK is another option, on top of what the NHS offer. So again, we're not, it's patient choice. We're not asking anybody to pay for services, but if they do want a service where they can come straight on, and they can, we can get you enrolled on the service very, very quickly. Again, it's there. And, I think most of the people that we've dealt with, I think some of the drinkers, they're spending £200 or £300 a week anyway on alcohol, believe it or not. Yeah. So, if they spend an element of that in, on recovery, it's only going to benefit them. Now, we have offered free recovery as well, but what we have noticed is that people don't value it. Sometimes they don't turn up to appointments, and they don't take you seriously. So I think, what we have found is when you put a fee, a nominal fee, people value it a lot more.
Does that sort of answer your question, Ricky? I mean, if there's anybody else wanting to ask any questions or join in the discussion, please do so. Just coming back to the point, I was maybe an expert. Maybe someone could actually share a story as to what alcohol has done to someone's life. And you know, we can talk about alcohol doing this and that, but it literally does ruin lives at some point. Um, and it's just not the individual that's going through the situation or going through the journey, it's the people around them that are affected. And I suppose if you are so um, intoxicated by alcohol, maybe you don't realize the the problems you may have with relationships, you know, with your partner, with your parents, with your brothers and sisters, and indeed with your children, because you know we always want to be role models for our children. um Sorry, I think Jeets, you're trying to come in there. You're more or less, you're more than welcome to come in if you wish. So if you do have any stories out there that you know you are possibly you could be a recovering um alcoholic, I will say it, because you know you have beaten the beast, as I say. So please do share your stories. Like I say, if we share what we have been through, it will actually help other people out there. So it's vital that we share. You know, it's nothing to be ashamed of. um it's something to be proud of, really, if you have defeated something in your life. So please, I think someone's just trying to come in, so I'll let them.
I will touch up on my story. I'm just currently driving, so I'm just listening in.
Okay, driving safe. So please do. Yeah, we can hear you clearly. So please do share. Share with us whatever you wish. Okay, maybe he's parking up. So yeah. So wherever you can hear us, obviously. So do park up and please be safe whilst you're on the phone.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
go
think
on.
I think it's a great opportunity to open up and talk and learn from each other, from each other's experiences. Um, why we don't take comfort in calling alcoholic. Um, we are not born alcoholics, if that makes sense. Our identity is not alcoholic. There is a phase in our life that must have been alcohol dependency, or substance misuse.
Right.
So if person can differentiate that, if they can detach themselves from their identity, listen, I'm not an alcoholic. I've had the rough patch. And you asked the question how to identify people who are having an alcohol
Yes.
dependency,
Yes. Yeah. Please. Yeah.
in your known circle, you probably know anyone that is going through any sort of challenges with alcohol or substance. You
You know
don't need
what?
to name anyone.
No. You know, I have friends who go to the pub and drink, but you
Yeah.
know, for most of them or most of us, it seems to be more of a binge drinking, as it's called. You
Mhm.
know, whatever, once a weekend or whatever. So I don't know whether that falls into the frame of, you know, I may see my friends, um, you know, once a month maybe, or once every 2 months, every 3 months. But when they do sit down, they do sit down and they do have a good drink, and most of them are snoring while I'm driving them back to their back to their homes. And
Like you
there
said,
maybe they are one or two of them. I say, you know, Baji, look cold we are now. It's maybe it's it's time to slow down a little bit, just take it easy. But most of them are asleep. But it's more of a binge rather than, I think, rather than actual. So I'm just trying to see, how do you identify if someone in your household does have a problem?
it's a very individual journey. A family will say someone who's so irritable all the time or short-tempered, uh, and often looking for excuses to go out and drink uh, in their sadness, in their happy moments, whatever that is for them. Alcohol seems to tick all the boxes, and their cupboards are full. Each time you hear them, oh, come on, it's a glassy time, let's have a glassy together, or whatever it is. It's very individualistic. Again, you get calls from parents, you get calls from children that we are having a problem with our father or mother. Parents say, we've got a problem with our child. How they spot that problem? Because they are not sleeping well,
Right.
waking up tired, don't
Mm.
have zeal to carry on their duties. They're not connected with the family emotionally, and they often rely on every argument, anything that seems to go wrong in their life, day-to-day life or career. Alcohol is a recipe. So this could be a raft of different reasons. So people can have various different reasons and various different signs to showcase that they are depending on alcohol to ease off their daily pressures. When you come to, you said binge drinking, and you used the phrase when they sit down, they do sit down and have a good drink,
Yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
right? So when they do sit down, do they actually sit down mindfully? That it's actually the talk when they feel lighter, how they feel lighter, when they talk to each other, when they let out what they've been bottling up all that week, month, whatever that is for them.
That's a very valid point actually, because if people, I suppose people do sit down to have a drink, but what you've just said is what they've been bottling up. I think that bottling up issues never come out, to be honest.
Mhm.
It's just banter between friends about the football, whether Tottenham's lost or Liverpool has won or Villa's got. So it's just general talk over, oh, it's your round, your round, your round, your round. And if one of them says, you know what, I'm okay, I'll have a glass of water. What are you talking about? But boom, the glassy
Yeah.
falls on the table, and then you can see
You're not coming with us next time. You're not
yeah,
coming with us. We're
yeah,
not coming with you.
sometimes you
You're-
can see it in the other person's eye thinking, oh, it's just he's had a few and just sitting there looking at it and thinking,
Right.
this is the one that's going to do me in. But it's that peer pressure. But they have to pick up the glassy and drink it, whatever. So the problem, I think, if they did sort of opened up and bottled up and say, you know what, blimey, my son's at university, is doing my head in, or the missus or whatever, things like that. I think that would actually be helpful to people if they sat down and actually talked about their problems or the issues and left them at the table and left them. But what it becomes is that it becomes a session night, but
Yeah.
just talking about nothing really, just talking about the current issues or talking about football and having a go at each other. And the more and having
They're more like fillers. It's not
yeah,
something constructive
yeah,
conversation or meaningful
exactly,
conversation.
exactly,
So,
exactly.
Keem and Deep, I'm just conscious we've got a couple of speakers that are waiting to jump in as well. So if you
Please
can
do
bring,
go for it.
yeah,
Yeah, please.
yeah. So we've got JK Mahi on the platform here. So yep, over to you.
Hear me? I'm sorry, my mic was off earlier.
No, go for it.
So yeah, I just wanted to speak on a professional perspective as well. I mean, I've worked with various organisations, forensic setting, voluntary organisations, different age groups, schools, and from my perspective, I think we really need to differentiate between Punjabi and Sikh. And I know that's been mentioned already. The culture versus the religion, and also when it comes to recovery, I think there's really something to be said for peer support as a long-term recovery tool. Initially, I agree that we do need professionals to be involved to guide people correctly, but long-term, a lot of research shows that peer support, specifically from people that you can relate to, not necessarily in a NA type setting. That the language in NA and NA is not always helpful. It's really quite an old-fashioned tool, and it needs updating for our culture, I think. But I think there is something to be said for peer support, definitely. So I did want to mention that, and recovery being a constant choice. And being very aware of the language that we use. So I don't think that the word alcoholic is always useful. It's more about using the language that the service user or the individual that you're working with, the patient, is comfortable with, and talking to them about that.
And coming from your background, I mean, what kind of role do you do? And do you find any kind of people, peer-to-peer support or whatever it might be from, a Punjabi or Sikh community background that you can go to for these kind of issues where it's quite, I'm assuming quite frequent?
Yeah, so right now in Northwest Birmingham, there is support in Wolverhampton, and there is support within. But as I say, there's more needed in terms of tailoring support towards Asian, specifically Punjabi communities. There are certain individuals who are peer mentors, as it were, in a professional setting. I work in personal well-being right now through probation, and there are services coming up, definitely, compared to before, but there's definitely a lot of work to be done. And this is where language comes into. So some people will be put off by the word Sikh because they might not identify as a Sikh, they might identify more as a Punjabi. And I know these things it might seem really minor, but to the individual that's seeking help, they can be quite prominent.
Okay, thank you for that input. And that's actually quite an interesting point there. To follow on from that, I'm going to jump over to Dr. Basra. Dr. Basra, if you could unmute yourself. Welcome once again. Good to have you on this platform. Following on from what J.K. Mahi said, and others said, there seems to be this whole issue of that identity and an issue within the Asian culture. And there's been probably not enough references today, but there is a massive unassuming connection between the use of alcohol within what you want to call the Sikh community, the Desi community, Asian community, but also mental health. What are your experiences and understanding of that working in a professional environment?
Thank you. I think there's a couple of things to consider here. I think, firstly, it's not vilifying people if they drink. We've got, there's two pathways here. There are pathways where people drink. They drink responsibly, they drink safely, and they drink within the limits of their own preference. And then we've got the population who are struggling, who are drinking because they are trying to mask something. And it's the latter group where you find a connection between substance misuse and mental health difficulties. I think Ricky picked up on it, and so did J.K. Mine. I think we need to be really careful when we're offering treatments because it must be evidence-based. There is a risk that we are enforcing our own beliefs, our own traditional practices on a population where the evidence base doesn't exist, and that's a dangerous pathway, and it actually can be quite harmful. I also agree with Jacob about group support network, and Alcohol Anonymous has got their own way of doing things, but actually where it works, and it works really well, is connecting to people who are similar to you and are going through the same journey as you, and you take strength in each other to get through that journey and to support one another when you have a lapse. There is no such thing as anybody who's who's a substance user who is miraculously going to wake up one morning and no longer ever be abstinent. That person will lapse. And there's research saying it takes about 7 times to stop it. It's the smoking literature, really, but it's applicable. Is that it takes roughly about 7 attempts to give up before you actually give up.
Okay, I think someone's accidentally pressed the mute everyone button, so whoever's done that, unmute everyone back again.
I think that might be a sign for me to shut up.
Right. Okay. No. I'm sure that's not the case. Yeah, I think we're getting back there again. Okay. We just had let's just have a quick look to see who's joined us today. I think I just saw the drum master himself, Tobzi Tolkiwala, join us, who's got his own story regarding this very, very taboo subject to jump in. Tobzi, can you hear us?
Bapinda.
Yeah, is he there? Did you see him join us, Suki? He was there for a moment, wasn't he?
He is there. I think he's just needs to turn his mic on. He's been requested as speaker. This Twitter space is really cool. Because obviously Ricky's done it today and someone else has done it before. How to put your hand up. So if you are, I've just been sitting here sort of fiddling around. So it's the heart shape at the bottom right corner. if you want to put your hand up,
Hand up and
if you
stuff.
want to
Yeah,
speak,
it's
yeah,
really
you know,
good.
these technical things. Maybe I've just
Yeah.
found out how to do that, and you can have your own color as well, whatever color you want
Yeah.
it.
So
Yeah.
whilst we're waiting for Tobzi
Yeah.
Bhupinder to join us, so Dr. Bazza, as you were saying, with regards to the whole process and the identification of like Alcoholics Anonymous may not actually serve the purpose. We need to be doing more. So if we can just carry on from that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying alcohol doesn't serve a purpose. What I'm saying it's probably outdated in terms of the
Outdated, yeah,
method.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of the methods that they use. But actually, there's quite a lot of evidence to support group work, to take support in one another who's going through a similar journey. There are addiction services in the NHS, and there are quite a few of them about. I think where the difficulty is probably big, long waiting lists, and just the sheer volume of need. I think the point I wanted to make was what you said earlier on, Suki, about people meeting up and having a binge at the weekend. Truthfully, as a psychologist, I think if that's not a problem for that person or for that group, then we shouldn't necessarily put them in a box or enforce our own opinion that is a bad thing to do. If that's a choice, people are adults, and if they want to have a drink and of a weekend, then people are entitled to do so. Where you also mentioned, how do you pick up the signs that things are becoming a little bit where people are becoming a bit more dependent, and the reality is it's where people can't function without having a drink, whether that is because they're really anxious, or whether that's because they're depressed, or whether that because there's something in their life that isn't going as planned, and they will revert to something that makes them feel better. And it's the case with any substance, really, whether it's alcohol or drugs. We will revert to anything that makes us feel better. And our culture, and it stems back from Punjab, no doubt, is alcohol has always been a social thing. It's at weddings, it's at parties, it's there, it's free, it's flowing. But that said, it serves a connected function to people. Men particularly aren't, as we spoke yesterday, are not the most free flowing with emotions. Alcohol at times can help with that. It makes you a little bit disinhibited, so you might be a bit more freer to talk. But I think what you said earlier on about, you don't talk about this stuff, people talk about the football. And I think that's absolutely all right, because in fact, that group of people, that social circle, may not have a problem drinking pattern. It might be absolutely all right. So I think we need to take, we need to just be mindful, I think, about categorizing anybody who drinks or has a binge into a box that they've got a problem. I think it's a bit more complicated than that.
Of course, yeah. No, I totally agree with you, and I totally see where you're coming from. I think just sometimes, we just look at people, and if they're having different binges with different kind of people, then maybe it's an issue. But no, I mean, by all means, once again, just to people who are joining us just now, do join in, do share your stories with us, because it's a learning curve for us and learning curve for lots of other people out there. And by sharing your story, you're actually helping other people possibly understand where you come from, or what the situation is. Like you said, I mean, alcohol has always been around, and on this particular platform, obviously, we're not the dissing word. We're not saying anybody, anything's wrong, whatever, but responsible or responsibility is the most important thing. And like we were speaking yesterday as well, we spoke about mental health yesterday. And I suppose if you are going through that journey or through those issues, you may not know. So sometimes it's good to listen to your closest, and your dearest, if they are saying something to you, not to take it in a negative way, but possibly take it in a positive way, and just to stop and just to think. And I think, have I, how many, just as you may think how many cigarettes have I had today, you may actually look at the bottle, and if you are having a drink on a regular basis at home on your own, responsibly is fine. But if you look at your cabinet and suddenly I'm a cereal addict, cereals, cornflakes, and everything else. And I, I kind of, I know it's away from the subject, but just looking at the issues, my parents went away when I was quite young, and I just had basically one day I woke up and I just had boxes and boxes of cereal because I was actually thinking I'm going to run out of cereal. So then I realized actually, I need to eat something else as well. And it's a similar, it may not, it's a similar sort of story. Bhupinder, I think Tubbsy, a well-known, established young man within the music industries. I think he's just checking his mic. He was about to come in, but he's gone quiet again. So Tubbsy, if you are listening to us, please do share with us your thoughts, please. Tubbsy, over to you. No, it came up blue for a little while. I think he's just trying to see if his mic is working. We will be having this conversation till about 10:30. So just to let you know that you still can share this with other people listening in. It's a great thing to talk. Tubbsy, are you coming in? I think he's teasing me. He seems to breathe, and then the mic comes on, and then it kind of goes off again. So maybe he could do a little Toda for us on his talkie, and then I know he's definitely coming in. There you go. I heard the laughter.
There we go. We can hear it. We knew he was there.
There's life there somewhere. Tubbsy, please. I know Ricky's waiting to join in as well, but we'll let Tubbsy go first. Tubbsy, are you coming in?
It's all gone quiet.
No, we can hear you. It hasn't gone quiet. We can hear you. Maybe he's putting his headphones in.
And could I come in the meantime?
Yeah, sure. Please do. Yeah, sure.
Just to add on to what Dr. Basra said and J.K. Mahi and Ricky earlier on. So there is that array of services available within the NHS. There are resources outside the NHS. What is available to that individual who needs help in that moment? That counts when they recognize there's an issue. Now, when going back to alcohol-free Sikhs, the name itself, when this was formed, I'm only talking on behalf of Sat Wright, who's the founder of Alcohol-Free Sikhs. This was formed on the basis of Sikhi, on the basis of Guru's teachings. So at no point Alcohol-Free Sikhs are categorizing any individual who are going out for socializing and drinking. It's their choice. They are free to drink, free to do anything they want to do. But at the same time, it also starts with binge drinking. The alcohol problem, when somebody hits a rough patch in their life, what they resort to, what is their rescue, what is their refuge, who they're reaching out to, that's very important. If that's their behavior pattern, they go out and binge drink, likelihood they might pick up the drink when they feel low, and that's the start of the downfall. I'm just saying it's my opinion, but again, because Alcohol-Free Sikhs on a social platform, and anyone is welcome to come in or seek help or ask for help. As far as Alcohol-Free Sikhs are concerned, they are just spreading Guru's word that Sikhs at least should stay free of alcohol consumption. I hope that kind of clears up any misconception about the name and etc. And just one other point about peer-to-peer services or group services. From my own experience in speaking with people who have come from peer-to-peer groups, what they found, there's a lot of reliance on the fellow group people. So let's say they're now emotionally connected with each other because they're seeing each other almost on a weekly basis. One person stops recovering, the others feel bad. So they want to stop recovering too. First time they will try and encourage them to continue the recovery. If they stop, they feel bad. Oh, hang on, I should stop recovering too because my friend isn't recovering. So some ways it works great. For some, it doesn't because probably it's not the safest environment for someone to completely open up. Dr. Basra alluded to earlier, men are not open emotionally. You probably, if you sit around a bunch of women in the same place, that you overhear a conversation that's totally emotionally driven, full on. They can talk about any subject, whereas men, you just mentioned earlier, Suki, it's about football, it's about what's going on in the current affairs, etc., etc. So that providing that personal, safe space for them to open up and discuss in any settings, and it's the outcome that matters.
Hello.
Hi, Tabzi, your mic is on. We can hear you. We can hear you doing
Okay,
something
I'm gonna
in the
try and come in
background.
here.
Yep, you can come in. We can hear you fully. So if you're just thinking that we can't hear
Okay.
you, yep, go on. Bipinda,
My name's Tabzi,
yeah.
and I'm an alcoholic.
Ooh.
And I think some amazing points by J.K. Mahi, Dr. Basra, and Ricky. I've been a member of AA for a good number of years, and it's it's called peer support, or in my case, I like the term mutual aid. Somebody mentioned it before. It's when you identify with somebody who's similar to yourself, and somebody who's going through similar sort of experiences. In my case, family. There was nobody closer to me than my dad. Pleaded, begged, brothers, sisters. Everybody tried to get me to stop, and my response was always, that you guys don't understand. You don't know what I'm going through. But the identification, the sparks that fly when you meet someone that has been through something similar to yourself. A little story. I was actually once in Australia, in Sydney, and I went to an AA meeting, and I was sitting right at the front, and somebody was sitting right at the back. It was like cinema style seating, and it was a lady from Australia, 14 years younger than me. And when she told her story, I was sitting at the front, and I was thinking, how the hell does she know what I've been through? How does she know my story? Yet the names are different, locations are different, age is different, but kahani bilkul same hai. How is that possible? And that's the level of identification that's possible. And language barriers. I mean, I think J.K. Mahi touched on it earlier on. There are now mutual aid groups in Punjabi. I actually one of my life-saving meetings that I went to was an AA meeting in Jalandhar, in Model Town. I nearly fell off the wagon. I was in India, and I got directed to that meeting, and it was all in Punjabi, and it was surreal. The experience was phenomenal. It was just like an AA meeting in England, but we were speaking in Punjabi, and I'm very grateful that I can read, write, and speak Punjabi. And मैं उस meeting का पूरा फायदा ले सके. And so it's I'm gonna fly the flag for AA, because AA, it saved my life. I don't know whether many people know my story or not, but I did struggle with alcohol for many number of years, and I was quite young in those years, and also what was young in those years was the understanding in the community of the what problem ki hai. ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਗਲਾਸੀ ਪੀਤੀਆਂ ਜਾਂ ਦੋ ਗਲਾਸੀਆਂ ਪੀਤੀਆਂ, ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਬੜਾ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਇਹ ਕਿਉਂ ਬੈਠਾ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਪਬ ਚ? It's like the question that Suki asked earlier. What makes you not be able to put down that drink? Why is it ek duni do and do duni char?
And what was it, Tabzi? What was it?
Sometimes when I'm describing it, I'm describing it like like mobile phone tariffs. I'm fitted with a chip that's unlimited minutes and unlimited everything when it comes to alcohol. Okay, if I was to have a drink now, I firmly believe that I would probably go back to square one. You know, that one would lead to another, would lead to another, would lead to another. I know this because I tried so many times. I tried controlled drinking or reducing drinking, and it isn't for me. For me, it's one or the other. I'm not saying that's the case for everybody. There are people that can drink sensibly. Many of my friends, my relatives, they are able to have a drink on a Friday night, but then not drink for another 5 Friday nights. You know.
So can I just, sorry,
But
obviously
I'm not one of those people, and the reason why I introduced myself as my name is Tubbsy and I'm an alcoholic is because to me that's a reminder of who I am. I am that person that cannot touch alcohol. It's not for me. I can't do it, right? Because if I do it, everything's gone. My health, my life, my family, everything's gone. So, and that's how we identify with each other. And just one of the points that Mandeep mentioned about it not being a safe environment in mutual aid. But we have something that we say at the end of the meeting is like, what you say here, who you see here, what you say here, please let it stay here. Right. And that's why it's called Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. The anonymous part is what you sign up for. You could be going to a meeting with your next door neighbor, but when you come back home, it's like that hasn't happened, kind of thing, right? The identification takes place within that meeting. And so, prior to me going into mutual aid, I tried everything. I even tried transcendental meditation, right? I was the NHS. I was in and out of hospitals, Dudley Road Hospital, in Birmingham.
City
once every
hospital.
3 weeks, I was there with pancreatitis, gallstones, the psoriasis of the liver, and I'm still suffering with those conditions now. I mean, it isn't. I stopped drinking in 1998, and it's not that Sharab Sharti bus on, everything goes back to normal. It's like a whirlwind. Just because the wind stopped blowing doesn't mean that everything goes back to normal. You have to work at putting your life back together, and the irreparable damage that you do to your health does actually stay with you. I still have every 6 months I have a scan at the liver outpatients department of Queen Elizabeth, right? It's because I'm overly susceptible to things like liver cancer, right? I have blood tests. I have an endoscopy every 3 years, right, to make sure I had esophageal varices, right, to make sure that those don't start bleeding again. And so there are a lot more factors to this than meets the eye. We're talking about binge drinking. Binge drinking is not healthy at all, as Dr. Basra may tell you, is that that actually whether it's once a week that you're actually hammering your liver, you're actually putting it through the ringer, whereas with the government guidelines for safe drinking and say we don't actually have a little bit every other day or something like that is actually better than having a full-on kick, giving your liver a full-on kicking once a week. So and one of the other things that I think that I've taken from listening to some amazing people this evening is that everybody sort of said it's an individual journey. My journey's is my journey, and the things that I go through every day, and the daily reprieve that I have that keeps me away from alcohol every day is different to everybody else's. Although I have a common sort of problem with a lot of other people and that I share with, and I have a sponsor and everything else. But there are parts of my journey that are individual and that need individual attention.
Obviously, I've got to ask a question, if you don't mind me. Sorry, sorry. I've got to ask a question, and maybe it will really help some of the other people here that may have their own kind of internal battles with regards to alcohol. But you were always known as the happy guy, the public figure in the entertainment industry, and with all due respect, as you quite familiarly know, everyone's like, like CBA, Tubbsy the man, he hammers it, he slams it, and he goes down, he could drink loads. But how hard did you find it not to conform when your health came to question in the end between doing what was right for your own well-being and still having that social pressure to go out with, you know, the boys, the Safri boys, the bands you were playing, and do what you always did? Because it can be very hard, can't it, to do what's right for yourself physically, but still conform to those social expectations, especially being a public figure. That must have been really, really hard for you. So, did that come through okay? Could you...
Yeah, no, it came through fine.
Yeah,
I think
lost a bit.
Tubbsy possibly, yeah, he's probably muted himself. We've just got a speaker who's got his hand up. I'm just going to bring Sing When You Are
Winning.
Yeah, Sing When You Are Winning. I like it.
How you
the
doing?
name.
I like that.
Yeah, you like the name. You know what? I'm gonna just first of all, yeah, my name's Manny. I'm from Wolverhampton, born and bred
Hi, Manny.
in
Thank you.
Wolverhampton, and I just want to first, obviously, Tubbsy's story was quite powerful, and he's on his personal journey, but it was very, very inspiring.
Yeah,
how
very good.
He found a lot of, you know, solace in different parts of the world as well, going and meeting and talking about his issues, and really openly and powerfully talking in this forum as well. I think was almost like it's part of his ongoing recovery and battle against alcoholism. I'm just going to come from a different angle. I practice my faith as much as I can as a Sikh, but I'm also a massive football fan, so I support the Wolves, and I go home, I go away. We went to Europe a couple of seasons ago, you know, and so went to quite a few places. Now, everybody knows you go to football, then obviously everyone drinks, but I don't. And in the beginning, that was quite a battle, because it was, hang on, everybody, even like the organizations like Punjabi Wolves, some wonderful people who are in that organization, but they like to go and have a drink. So I had to really focus on my Gursikh Jeevan and look at what Sikhi brings to me. And diversity, when I look at diversity in life, it's not about having a Sikh or a black person in a room. It's actually having somebody with a different way of thinking. Diversity has nothing to do with color. I think it's to do with your mind and your thought and what you bring to the table. So I thought to myself, well, why can't a practicing Sikh who doesn't drink be really accepted in football? So why should a pressure of the football environment influence me to be like everybody else? So that was my focus on really saying, as a Sikh, I can also go to football and I can also partake. And I do that quite openly, and I talk quite openly. So, you know, I've got lots and lots of friends who are white, English, males predominantly, who are drinkers, who say to me, oh, Manny, do you want to come down the pub, or we want to buy you a drink? Because I do a lot of fundraising for different charities. And I'm like, straight away, really powerfully saying, oh, I'm a Sikh. Oh, but surely Sikhs, they all drink, don't they? And for me, straight away, I have to, at that point, that's the point where I say, oh, actually, no, we don't. And I go back to the biggest advisor of our faith is Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Guru Nanak Dev Ji never sat at home and said, here's my message. They went out. So I think it's important for us to play active roles as well and get out into society, into circles where peer pressures exist and where weaknesses exist, where people succumb to that peer pressure. And we also go there and say, well, actually, there is a different way of living life. And we can also go to Christmas parties with the Works Do and do our own thing and impress our way of life. And when we do that openly and outwardly, it actually impresses a lot of people, and people change their views and minds, and then they actually cater for you. So I go to football, and I've got so many people who know that, oh, Manny, he doesn't hit Masni Kanda, hit Eshrabni Binda. So we know this is his Jeevan and this is what he brings to the table. So sometimes, we give up very easily. And the message of our faith is very, very strong. And we need to confidently portray that message from our faith and say, actually, I'm a Sikh. I don't actually drink. And this is the reason why. And actually have open conversations and not just, I know it's not possible for everybody to do that, but some of us, we need to do that. We need to be more outward. We need to be more proactive in environments that are away. We can't be a Sikh in the Gurdwara and then, oh, I fancy a pint now because I'm going to go to the football. We got to say, well, actually, I'm a Sikh and I can also practice that way of life by at the football as well, or at work, or whatever the environment it is. So that's just another angle,
Yeah.
another way of trying to, have positive role models, maybe, in those circles where the peer pressure exists.
Yeah, Manny, if you don't mind me asking, have you always been Satari Sikh always?
No, I haven't. I was a Munna up
I was going to
until
come. Oh yeah, I was going to come to that question.
25. My dad, my father worked in a brewery for 30 years, and he was an alcoholic, but he drank.
Yeah.
And I think I got absolutely drunk when I was 16 in a leaving do from school.
Right.
And after that, I haven't drunk. And but it was when I turned to my faith and looked at the message of my faith, I don't know, I just felt confident in taking that outside
I
of
was
the
just going to say,
Gurdwara.
you know how you're speaking about peer pressure. I was just going to say that now that you're Sardar and you're Satari and you got Ges, is it easier for people if I'm not sure, I'm saying they're going to offer you a drink or whatever, for them to look at you and say, actually, I won't even offer him. Whereas maybe when you didn't have Ges, as in, your beard and you're the star, it was harder then because people are pushing it almost in your face because they know not to give it to you because you
know what, that's a really good point, and that's really, really true. It really, really is. It gives you it gave me like
a shield.
A platform, like a shield. Yeah, it's it is. This crown we wear, this case that we wear, it gives you that confidence, and it gives people, the understanding people will respect it and think, oh no, this is. But some people still will be ignorant to that, and they'll think, oh, So I just thought that was a different way that we can still go to football and we can still go to parties, and we can still be ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's what you've just said is that we can still go to pubs and still go to clubs or parties or wherever you want, not just for Sikhs, for anybody as a human being, as an individual. But it's just being responsible for yourself and for others as well in that situation. It's coming up to 10:30, so I'm going to leave it with Balraj to say a few words. But it's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for everybody joining in. Thank you everybody for just listening in. It means a lot. And this will be available on the Punjab 2000 platforms across the social media. So I'll leave it with you for your closing.
Okay. Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you.
I'm just going to echo what everyone's, I'm just going to echo what everyone's really said today, and there's been some real positive points there. I'm really going to pass it over to Mindology and Alcohol Free Sikhs, who this kind of conversation has been centered around in terms of what they're trying to achieve and what they want to put out there, and everyone working together. So if I can go over to Alcohol Free Sikhs for those final words, and over to Mandeep Baji, following on for what Baji before spoke about the whole spirituality element as well. So over to you, Baji, Alcohol Free Sikhs.
After you, go on.
Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, apologies earlier. I was just on my way home, just arrived home. I'm Ranjit Singh, or better known as Jeet Singh. I'm also speaking on behalf of Alcohol Free Sikhs. I'm head of education and content writing for Sikh Values regarding Alcohol Free Sikhs. Our message is mostly it's mostly the Guru's work. It's not us. It's spreading that awareness where our Gurus have brought forward our Sikh values in in regards to Guru Maharaj, Guru Granth Sahib Ji. I mean, me myself, I've been through an experience as well where I lost track of life. This was around probably my second year of uni, where I was drinking quite a hefty amount myself. And, you know, in recent years, I turned myself around. I didn't really have any help where it was in regards of leaving alcohol. And as Tabzi BG earlier said, that, you know, when you got these circumstances where you're starting to drink, it started from a social sort of enterprise to, you know, going in the park and starting to drink myself silly nearly every night. And back then, if I had, you know, help in terms of my own mental health and drinking in regards to depression or anything like that, it would have been really helpful. But the journey itself, through how I experienced it, is one of the biggest reasons why I am part of Alcohol Free Sikhs. And that's, you know, that in itself, I mean, Alcohol Free Sikhs, we started launch in March, and most of my side not being part of, you know, the psychological and psychology side of things. I mean, starting off in March with Alcohol Free Sikhs gave me a purpose and a direction to go in regards of, you know, probably helping others through the experience I had. Also in regards that Alcohol Free Sikhs or any type of service that was there, I didn't seek any help because I didn't really want to talk about it. But Alcohol Free Sikhs, our VG Sat Singh has really helped me find my purpose in helping others. Just like saying when you're winning, I again turned to Guru Maharaj. I was blessed with Amrit last year, and through that, the seva is just one of the main things I wanted to do, to help others, educate others, to overcome the problem with dependencies or even talking about things. And I'm extremely grateful. I mean, I went through the whole raps of smoking. Smoking didn't help. My alcohol intake increased. But one, you know, I used to basically go to the park and drink myself silly. And one evening, I couldn't do it anymore, so I threw that. And my confidence, if I can say, still wasn't fully there until AFS came in, and you know, Juji gave me that chance that whatever you've been through, you've overcome it. You've overcome it in a way that, you know, Guru Maharaj placed their hand on my head and, you know, really gave me another opportunity at life.
Thanks, G. So that's a real personal journey, and I think we all felt, you know, and visioned that, you know, journey the way you just described it. I'm just going to go over to Sat Singh Badi for the final words. So, Sat, for those that are listening, you know, in terms of your services, those that want to facilitate, you know, maybe for their in-service users, for themselves, and they need that support, what's the best way for them to contact you, and what are your kind of final thoughts, you know, before we conclude? I'm going to leave the last words to you, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they can contact us via any social media platform, from LinkedIn to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But we are going to officially release a phone number at the beginning of of next year. And also, you know, it's important what Ranjit has touched on. You know, we get many volunteers that are coming forward because, you know, it does give them a sense of purpose. You know, the fact that they're out there You know, they're working with us on. So we do a lot of face-to-face events as well. So we're going to have a whole roadshow of events throughout the year in different parts of the country. And this is where we get a lot of people connecting. So we get people connecting that need help, but we also have people that want to find that purpose in life. Yeah. And we got a lot of other, Sikh organizations, the Supreme Sikh Council of the UK, they're our partners. And obviously they're helping, spread that message of Sikhi. Yeah. And also, we have other organizations such as Khalsa Aid. We have Alcohol Explained, which is a professor who's written books on alcohol. So if you look up Alcohol Explained, you can download those copies. He's also helping us with our content as well. And then we're also working with quite a lot of healthcare companies as well. So eventually, we want to find that balance where we do have a really, really effective service. And it'd be good to work with Tubsy and other people as well with experiences as well, because what it is the only way. One system's never going to work for everybody, but anything that we can do to help the whole community, and this is where we're happy to work with anybody that wants to take this forward, and help change that mindset. See, the whole alcohol industry changing as well. Many companies out there. So I think one of the biggest drinks company have set up an alcohol-free division. Also, London has opened its first off license, which is completely alcohol-free. So there's hundreds and thousands of drinks coming now, which are going to be more healthy, low sugar, and alcohol-free. So hopefully, if we can get this across to our wedding caterers, and anything that we can do to stop glamorizing alcohol. So we're working on quite a few different elements. So if there's anyone that wants to come and join us or have dialogue with us, feel free. As long as we're progressing and we're working with all the different organizations and moving, our community forward.
Fantastic. Thank you, Satbadi. So just once again, a big thank you and respect to everyone that's took part in today's Twitter space with yourselves, Alcohol Free Sikh, talking about obviously the alcohol use help that is available out there. I just want to take the opportunity to thank obviously Sukhi Paji and especially the people that have actually engaged in today's platform to put their thoughts and views and some really interesting points and perspectives forward. I also want to say from Punjab 2000's point of view, this is your space, guys. This is our space, and these things only work if everyone engages. So if there's anything you want to talk about, any subjects, by all means, send them through our social platform handles, and we'll talk about things. We've got connections. We all know each other. We're all like a big family, and we've got connections. So let's talk, because it's good to talk, and that's the only way we're going to get to any kind of resolution in the long term. But you know what? Thank you very much, guys, and again, thank you, Sukhi. God bless everyone. You take care. Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Have
Good night.
great
Thank you.
holidays and Nanak Naam Chaddi Kala Tere
Tere
Pani
Pani
Sarbat
Sarbat Kala. Good night. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.